All right, well, let's get, yeah, it's about five, almost five after, and this might be it today, but that's all good because that's who's supposed to be here. So there it is. Um, so this session, we're going to look at chapter two, text 31 through 46. And just to recap, what's titled of this chapter is the Gita summarized, which is pretty awesome because if you read chapter two, then it's like, okay, this is kind of like the appetizers before the real food. Like this tastes good, this is good stuff, but we're going to be ready for the main course after this, and Krishna is really going to dive into some deeper stuff. But the chapter two is awesome because it just kind of gives you, just a little bit for the palate for you to be able to to taste. Last session, just to kind of recap, of course, we talked about how the soul is eternal. We talked about how the body is temporary, of course, and that death is not the end. So, those were kind of the key things that we talked about last time, kind of in a nutshell. This one, we will get into if the soul is eternal, how should we live, and what is our responsibility in that? So that's what we'll dive into with 31 through 46. Um, One thing that I came across a quote that was pretty interesting. It's from a gentleman named Viktor Frankl. So I'm not sure if you've heard of him. Yeah. So, me typically I dive into like Stoic quotes and stuff like this, but I came across this one. And then Viktor Frankl's pretty neat because I even like went down a rabbit hole researching him and kind of figuring out who he was. So he was an Australian psychiatrist, he was a neurologist, and he was actually a Holocaust survivor as well, which is pretty wild. So just keeping that mindset of you got this brainiac, but then he also dealt with the Holocaust and, just that mindset. This quote is probably even more powerful when you put it in that context. But the quote was, life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose, which is pretty mind blowing when you think about like, I mean, psychiatrist, neurologist says that you're like, oh yeah, that guy's just really smart. But then when you add in Holocaust survivor and that person is literally saying life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. And what do we complain about? Like Starbucks got our order wrong. You know what I mean? Like, like the, first world problems, we worry about traffic and
I
stuff.
literally just journaled that quote, that exact quote, because this week it's been kind of hitting for me. So that's
Oh, nice.
very, very wow. I'm just like, the second you said that, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah. It was a great quote that I came across this week too. And I was just like, holy crap. Like this is, like I said, especially once I started diving into who he was and stuff, so one thing that we're going to see here in 31 through 46 is Krishna is about to tell Arjuna what that meaning is and the purpose, and that the purpose matters more than just being comfortable or having comfort. So I know Darcy hasn't picked it up yet, so I'm going to share my screen here. So that way you will be able to, um, there. All right. Can you see that? Can you see the
Yep.
screen? Okay, cool. Just checking. All right. So we're going to read 31 through 38 starting off. Okay. So 31 through 38. So 31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya. Hold on, I got to move the pictures. The people are in the way. Hold on. I could read it. All right. Considering your specific duty as a kshatriya, or what is also known as a warrior, that's what that term means, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. 32. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. 33. If, however, you do not perform your religious duties of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. 34. People will speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. 35. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. And 38, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by doing so, you shall never incur sin. So, what Krishna is talking about here is the between dharma and duty is what the juggling act is here. This is where Krishna starts speaking directly to Arjuna as about his role as a warrior. And the key point is, of course, Krishna is not saying that fight because war is fun. That's not what he's saying here. He's saying that don't abandon your responsibilities simply because it's painful. And as we talked about in chapter one, even it ended with him just collapsing and sitting on the chariot, not wanting to do this, even though that was he is a Kshatriya, he's a warrior. This is literally what he was set out to do. Sometimes there's perfect examples of um, responsibility, but it's still painful. Some like a firefighter entering a burning building, he's got a responsibility to go in and save people. That's his job. I mean, he could get to the door and be like, "Oh, hell no, I'm not going in there," but I mean, that's this, it would be the same conversation. This is your job, man. Get in there and help people. Same with even a surgeon, maybe performing a long operation to save a life. This is going to be a 12-hour operation, hope, heart transplant or something, but I don't want to do it. I'm too scared. What if I accidentally screw this up? Well, that's still your duty. You still have to follow through with it. And even something as simple like this example kind of hits home for me is, just like a parent making a difficult decision for a child. So, I mean, there's sometimes I have to, especially when my boys were younger, it's like, sorry, man, you got to go in timeout, and he's just so devastated because he had to sit on a stair. It's just like, and I felt bad, but, it's like, these are the things that go on. But even deeper than that, there's parents that know whether whatever they're going through, they may have to give their children up for adoption because they know they'll be better off than being with them. I mean, that's a that's a really tough choice too. So you can't abandon your responsibility just simply because it's painful. And out of those examples, I mean, none of those are really pleasant, obviously, but avoiding them could potentially cause an even greater harm to the child, to the person in the burning building, to the person on the operating table, if the people didn't follow through with what their dharma, what their duty is. In the purports here during that section, Śrīla Prabhupāda states that, um, quote, there is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness or elevating your consciousness, that everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna's transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. So basically, what that's saying is if you're acting for your own sense gratification, then you are subject to reactions. But if you're doing it for a higher purpose, then you aren't a debtor to anyone. So you have to, it's all perspective, so it's why am I doing this? Is it because I want something in return or because I feel like it's the what I'm supposed to be doing and it's the right thing to do? I mean, I just kind of thinking about it. I mean, as far as like there's been things that I've known that were the right thing to do, but I avoided, just because it was uncomfortable or I didn't want to have that conversation with somebody. We even touched on that a little bit in chapter one, and just personally speaking, I know there was like, again, this makes me sound like a Maury Povich, but like I've had two divorces, but like, but like in one of them, like I knew I shouldn't even have really been with her, but I didn't want to have those uncomfortable conversations. And, of course I had attachment issues looking back and it's like I didn't want to be alone. And so I got myself into a pickle. And then it's like, next thing I know, we're like married. I'm like, what happened? Like, how did I end up here? But again, that's how you learn lessons from consequences. And maybe that was my karma. I had to try to figure out, since I went through two of them, obviously something was going on that I had to learn, but I got it now. Won't be getting married again, so I've learned my lesson. So please leave me alone for now. But no, just kidding. But um Prabhupada really states in like the purports here that if you're doing duty for Krishna or for a higher purpose, then it becomes spiritualized. So that's one of the things that um, it's not just merely action, right? It's consciousness behind the action. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but it's, just having the consciousness and self-consciousness to think everything you're doing, if it has purpose and is like, it's not just because, well, I'm going to work and then I'm doing this and I'm going to work and I'm coming back home. And then, you know, you have to really think about and self-reflect, why am I doing these things? How can I, is this just because this is what people do? Or is this because this is what I think is what's right? Or this is because I know I want to provide for my family, my loved ones, for myself to make sure I have good health? If you, it just makes you more thankful and more conscious about what you're doing in your everyday life. But all right, let's dive into 39 through 41 here. I'll pull the screen back up. All right, 39 through 41. All right, so 39. Thus far, I've described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Partha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. All right, so what we're starting to see here is the beginning of, so there's different type of yogas, this is the beginning views of what's called um, Buddha yoga. It's like BU or Buddha yoga. It can be pronounced either way, but Buddha yoga, obviously you've heard the Buddha. That's obviously kind of like where it comes from, right? That is the yoga of intelligence or the yoga of wisdom. That's Buddha yoga. And it involves using your booty, not your booty, but your booty. And it's using higher intelligence and discriminating faculties to ensure you are making the right decision. And so it's instead of acting on impulse or seeking personal gain, a practitioner of Buddha yoga actually aligns their actions with divine wisdom and inner peace. So I mean, it's literally where Buddhism comes from. That's the type of yoga is Buddha yoga. And this is pretty huge for Krishna to start to dive into this version or this type of yoga here, because he's starting to introduce that acting with spiritual intelligence and acting without selfish attachment, which, of course, is easier done, but intelligence isn't just simply knowing things or being smart. It's about knowing what matters most and what's important. So, to be able to use that intelligence and use it to focus on what's important is crucial. And looking just even at like our current world right now, there's so many people, you see them in the news, and depending on your viewpoint, you just want to vomit half the time when you see these people. But there's lots of successful people out there, billionaires and all this stuff, but not all of them are wise. So there's tons of successful people, but not all of them are wise. So in the purport on 39, Prabhupada talks about that all these individuals working in this material world for sense gratification and how they are essentially under the spell of material or energy, or what's called Maya or illusion. Because they think they're enjoying life. They think that, hey, this is great. I'm like making all this money. I've got three houses all over the world. I'm doing it. But it's that's such a strong illusion because in this world it just seems like because you never get enough. You're always just constantly grasping for more and more because those type of things never satisfy anybody, as far as, I mean, unfortunately, you've heard multiple stories of rock stars, actors, actresses that have unfortunately unalived themselves, because of depression. And, you know, for people that just work a 9 to 5 job, the common person's like, why are they so sad? They've got everything, but it's because they're covered in illusion or Maya because they think that the material will bring them happiness, but that is not at all the true happiness. And Epictetus, bringing back the some of the Stoics here. So he had a quote that was, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." So Krishna even goes a little bit deeper on that to say not only to act wise, but offer the results to God or the divine. Be thankful for everything. And faith means unflinchingly trusting in something sublime, so just like George Michael said, you got to have faith. But it's it's tough to do, especially because we're such a world of I want to see the results now. And that does make it tough to have faith and to just trust that you're on the correct path and that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But that's that's really what faith is, unflinching trust in something sublime. And I think that's key though, is offering the results to the divine, for everything, that happens in our lives. It's just a heart of thankfulness and just being thankful for I just had this random thought, I guess, because I'll be going to Hawaii. So, like, have you ever heard of what is that? The Opa Ono? What is it? Yeah, the that like that.
That was my meditation today.
Yeah, that's such a powerful meditation, because it's basically just like, thank you, everybody. Sorry, forgive everybody. Like I can't remember the exact translation, but you know what I'm saying.
I'll look
It's
it up.
amazing.
It is. I'll give you the exact
Oh,
thing.
perfect. And how's it
Um,
pronounced again? I always mess it up.
I know, right? It is pronounced ho oh 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 no.
Ho'oponopono. Yeah. I
Ho
remember it
oh
was a tongue twister.
oh 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 no. Ho oh oh no. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a tongue twister. It's HO apostrophe OPONOPONO. Ho oh oh
Ho'oponopono.
oh oh no.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
and you repeat, it's like, which that translates to like make right or to correct
Hmm.
your path. And so the four things are, I just had it pulled up. I after my meditate after we went through it was a 30-minute meditation. It was a guided meditation on insight time. And as we went through it, when we were done, I like clicked over onto my little thing, and I was like, I'm gonna write these four down because I really kind of liked it. So the first one is I'm sorry.
Hmm.
The second one is please forgive me. The third one is thank you, and the fourth one is I love you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank or thank you, I love you. And it's a
Yeah.
way to make amends to somebody that you have wronged, but without actually doing it in the physical realm, but doing it in
Yeah.
the energetic realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it made me think of. But doing that changes your mindset, to like one of
Right.
thankfulness and,
Yeah. Like science
empathy.
has actually proven that this
Yeah.
meditation technique can help alleviate the stress that comes from knowing that you wronged somebody, whether it was on purpose or not on
Sure.
purpose. I mean, same thing. I've been divorced twice too. I'm sure I probably need to send a little bit
Yeah.
of that to my two
Yeah.
ex-husbands. And that's a perfect for instance. My first ex-husband died of a drug overdose like 10 years ago. So there is no way. We were married when we were in our early 20s. So there is no way for me to ever like reconcile, even though it was primarily his fault of the divorce. There would be no way for me to physically ever reconcile that relationship because he's now dead.
Yeah.
So the Ho'oponopono is a good way to be able to, let go of my part
Yeah.
in that relationship, but do it, etherically, be able to alleviate my own, like, karma, I guess it would be, of what I did, my bad part in that, because I can't make it up to him. I can't tell him that he's
Yeah.
dead. So yeah, it's a really neat. It's all like the native, indigenous Hawaiian
Yeah.
healers are the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's pretty
it's
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's just kind of what it made me think of. So thank you for
yeah,
for the
yeah.
translation.
It's
Yeah.
weird that you said that. Yeah, you're like hitting the journals and the meditations.
Yeah.
That literally, I pulled up a random meditation on Insight Timer. Sometimes when I go to do a meditation, like, I don't want to just sit there for 30 minutes. I need somebody to guide me, especially after the whole rail burn. I just needed somebody else in my head.
Yeah.
And so I just like spun the Insight Time, just like spun, and it just went. And that was the one that came up, and it was 25 minutes. And I was like, I got 25 minutes.
Yeah. That's a good
And
one
then,
though. Yeah.
yeah, that was the exact
Yeah.
meditation, with that whole technique and explaining it. And then it was a 30-minute of just going through, I'm sorry, please forgive
Yeah.
me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you,
Yeah.
I love you. It's weird because you're saying it to yourself, so you're also forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and I think that's the thing is it adds that self-reflection, you know what I mean? To like,
right,
but yeah.
right.
But
So
anyway, super cool. Um,
yeah, super cool.
so let's move on. Let's read 42 through 44 here. Let me pull up the old screen again. All right, so 42 through 44. So men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So, what Krishna is talking about there is the difference between ritual and transformation. So, just to give you some background here, because I don't know how familiar everybody is with the Vedas, but traditionally, the Vedas are considered eternal spiritual knowledge, um, revealed to ancient sages, and nobody really knows how old they are. I think if you look it up, and I think the first written text of it is maybe like 3,000 to 5,000 years old. But before that, as you know, wasn't really anything written. They would just, especially in the guru type setting, they would just pass it down verbally to each other. So it's not really known. If you ask some people that follow Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism, they say that it's eternal and it doesn't have a beginning. But um, it's an ancient spiritual text of India, and there's four. I've got it somewhere. I don't know where it's at. I should have thought about bringing it over, but there's four Vedas in there, and they all touch on like different topics. And we won't go too deep into it, but because it can be pretty dense, but it's kind of forms the philosophical base and foundation for traditions of yoga, bhakti, and of course like Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism. It also explores topics like reincarnation. It touches on relationship with the divine. Of course, there's a lot of stuff in there about how to perform a sacrifice, and an offering. There's also, things to do in order to get material gain or benefit from the demigods, what they call the demigods, which is essentially like Ganesha, Lakshmi, those types of gods and goddesses, Hanuman. Um, but it mostly deals with those type of things like fruitive activity, like that will generally elevate them to a higher plane. But it's predominantly for sense gratification on a transcendental platform, is really what it is. So it's just kind of scraping the surface, but setting the foundation. And I'm going to butcher this, but I listened to one guy talk about how the Vedas came out and people are like, oh, okay, well, this is really for the sages because it's really hard to digest. So then the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita comes out. It's like, oh, this is a little bit easier. And then there you have the Upanishads, and then you have the Srimad Bhagavatam, and stuff kept coming out to where it got easier and easier to digest these teachings, you know? And so, really like the Bhagavad Gita is, I love it. It's top notch. But when you start diving into some other books and stuff too, it's like it's awesome because it really kind of opens your mind and kind of gives you new kind of revelations onto certain things here. And it's pretty interesting. But anyway, the Vedas, like I said, it's pretty dense. Um, and it's very, like I said, do this, do that type, get rewards. And that's kind of what Krishna is talking about as far as ritual versus transformation, because he's speaking to the Vedas about how it's got all this flowery language and you're going to make these offerings and this is going to be awesome. And this section, especially at the time, really surprised people because Krishna is critiquing those who are obsessed with heavenly rewards, just trying to get material gain and just want the ritual benefit and material prosperity. And he's like, it's more than that, man. It's spiritual. And I was thinking of a analogy for this, and the best thing that I could think of or come up with is like someone joining a gym, but not because they want health, that they just only want the compliments that they go to the gym. It's like the external action is there of, hey, I got the gym membership, I'm going, but the deeper purpose is missing. They're not there to actually, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to the gym, it's great. I go there every day, but their body and they're not changing. There's no change because it's not on the deeper platform, and you definitely need to put action if you want to be spiritual or if you want to advance any sort of spiritualism or your connection to the divine. Because, just thinking about it, reasons on why people try to like pursue spirituality or connect with something like that, of course, is it for peace? Is it for answers? Is it for blessings? Is it community? Hanging out with friends? Is it truth? Maybe it's all of that. I think it's important for myself included, all of us to try to digest and self-reflect because there's no wrong answer in that. It's like, but what if you're looking, because if you're continually looking on like, what can I do? How can I advance myself spiritually? If you're, people as we know and have met, unfortunately, probably in all of our lives, that there's people that don't admit any wrong, that they're all, those people drive me nuts. You know, there's a person at work that, they work for me and I was trying to tell them, make sure we get this done. And so, oh, I did that, but other people are coming back behind me and changing it and stuff. And I could tell that the paperwork that I asked to be changed had probably been on that wall for like 6 years. Like there was grease on it. Like nobody put a new piece of paper up here. You missed it, and that's okay. Like it's not a big deal. Just don't lie about it. This is like the weirdest thing to lie about, But if you have some ownership, like, all right, I know I'm not perfect. I screw up. Do I make all the right decisions? Oh, hell no. I'm human. I live on Earth. Yeah, I'm in this material Maya, this illusion, this material world. But I mean, like a captain, I just keep trying to right the ship and I just try to, navigate these waters. And that's really that what we're trying to do, but we have to self-reflect and make sure that why are we doing it? What is the reasons and how can I progress? And this section is really important because it's warning against just business with God, and like I worship you, so therefore give me stuff, and in some other faiths you see that a lot is like, you know, I prayed that, you know, I don't know, little Billy wouldn't get a cold and he got a cold. What the hell? You didn't answer my prayers. And it's like that always rubbed me the wrong way, even when I like prescribed to Christianity, because it's like you haven't even been thanking the guy all week. You haven't been thankful that, God gave you food, God provided for you. I've got to, I go to work, but maybe open doors for the job that I have here. But then you're going to gripe because he doesn't give you one thing, but you haven't said thank you for all the rest of the stuff. So it's, and unfortunately, I think that's just also an American thing because kind of a microwave generation. I threw it in there, threw it in the microwave, and why is it not ready? It's been 2 minutes. It's still frozen in the center. Like I just think that a lot of times when we don't get things exactly our way, that's when we need to self-reflect because obviously there's spots there that we still need to heal. And I was preaching to myself here too. It's like because there's sometimes even when I'm like, what the hell? I tried to do like, is this not right? But it's like, why are you getting upset? Like just release, let go, detach. There's no reason to get upset, and just be thankful. I don't always have to ask for stuff. It'll be provided to me as it should be, and I just trust that. So that's why, like I said, we're not trying to do transactional spirituality here. It's a deeper purpose on how can I grow. And to that point, my parents, growing up, they didn't give me everything. They were awesome parents. They provided a roof, sent me to private school so I can get a good Bible education. Now look at me. No, I'm just kidding. But like, they still loved me, but they didn't give me
Now look
everything
at
I want.
you
Huh?
living your purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But
They knew it was your purpose. They just got the book.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. But that's the thing though, is like, talking about transactional spirituality, like they gave me everything that I needed, but everything I asked for, they definitely didn't give me. Like I want all these video games. You don't love me. You didn't give me my Sega Genesis Sonic 3 game. Like what the heck? But it's because they know I didn't need that. You have enough games. Like you already spend like 6 hours up on the Genesis. Like calm down. Like so it's also I always like I was thinking about it too when I was thinking about my parents was my dogs are always like begging for food off the table. And it's like I love them, but I'm not going to feed them chocolate off the table because I know in the grand scheme of things it's not good for them. So there's even with the puppy dog guys, I love you, but I can't give you what you think you need is really what it is. And that's why Krishna is pushing beyond transactional religion here because like I said, we see a lot of people praying, making offerings to God or to the demigods like Ganesha, Lakshmi, or even praying to saints, and asking for stuff in return. But again, what's the reason behind it? What is the purpose of you? Now, not like I'm not saying to not ask for things because that's part of getting it off your chest and, connecting with the divine. But like thinking about this, my mom, she she sometimes she would give you gifts or I would see her give people gifts and then she would say, "Can you believe so and so didn't send me a card for saying thank you for this gift?" And it's like, but why did you give it, Mom? Why'd you give the gift? Like, did you give it because you love them and you want to bless them, or are you wanting something in return? Well, I just think it's only better if they say thank you. That's not nice. I'm like,
Mom is the same. Listen, I think that just is your mom Italian? Are both your
yes,
parents Italian?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So just my mom is Italian, but she's
Well, that's how. Yeah,
100%.
just my mom. Just my mom.
Yeah, and she's the same exact way.
Oh
And
yeah.
like she's like, I never did get a card from this person thanking me, and like we'll go on about it for years.
Yeah.
My cousin, she made cookies for my cousin's wedding 12 years ago, made like Italian Ginettas. Like my
Yeah.
cousin wanted her to make them. Her grandmother was, well, my second cousin, third cousin. So her grandmother was my mom's sister, and my mom's sister passed. So she asked my mom to make these Italian wedding cookies. And my mom made them for her. And that was like 12 years ago. And she's still bitching that my cousin
Oh yeah.
never sent her cookies.
And
Like,
that's, I mean,
oh,
that's exactly how
right,
that's.
right.
But and
Then
so
just
I've
ignore
tried
it and
to.
let it go.
Well, and that's the thing is, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more. I'm still respectful, but I've got more brazen. With what it's like, Mom. That's not right.
Right,
I mean, I'm sure
right.
it's like yelling at a wall, but it's like I still at least hope to plant the seed that, think of, and that's what I'm kind of getting at. It's all about perception and mindset, right? Like,
Well,
why am I doing this? Is it to advance my spiritual, being, or is it just something material and gain, So, but all right, let's button up with 45 and 46 here, and then we'll be good on the reading for today. Let's see here. All right, so 45. So the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So that's really touching on rising above dualities. We've talked about duality several times through chapter 2 here. And this really is pretty a beautiful stopping point because Krishna is telling Arjuna to rise above the three modes of material nature. Now, the term for that, they call that the gunas. That's what they call the material natures, the gunas. And just to, without getting too nerdy on you, because we are going to dive deeper into the spoiler alert in chapter 14, because it really focuses on the gunas. But the three gunas, or the three modes of material nature, is sattva, which is the mode of goodness, which is purity, wisdom, harmony. You've got rajas, which is the mode of passion, which is driven, things that are driven by desire. It's things like ambition, intense activity. And lastly, the third one is tamas, which is the mode of ignorance, which that's, of course, darkness, inertia, delusion, those type of things. And if you really start to self-reflect or even look at others, like you can tell people are a mix of all three of these modes of material nature, right? And a good example is when you hear people say like, well, this is my good side, or well, this is my bad side. Sometimes my bad side comes out like, oh, okay, your Tomas came out. That's great. Put it away, like your dark side came out. Like I don't want to see it. So there's there's a free, some of it is just natural, like what comes out. That should be reflecting on those three modes of material nature, should show us what we need to work on whenever we start to self-reflect, because we make a mix of, we're just a mix of these. So the way that like in today that people really spend their life reacting to these three modes of material nature is stuff like praise, blame, again, more duality stuff, gain, loss, success, failure, just the dualities of life. It's just fading in between the three modes of material nature. And Krishna is inviting us to a higher platform to try to rise above these modes of how we can remain steadfast and calm above these three modes of material nature. Because, when you first hear about them, at least when I first heard about them, I'm thinking, oh, you probably just want to be in the mode of goodness. You want to be in the purity and the wisdom and the harmony. Definitely Rajas, the mode of passion. I don't know. It seems a bit intense at times. And then definitely want to stay away from Tamas. I want nothing dark. But it you really have to rise above all of them, because like the old saying is like you can have too much of a good thing, is kind of like the mode of goodness. I mean, that's why there's gluttony, right? Like, God, this food's good. I'm just, just like chowing down on it. Like that's goodness, right? But it's eventually ends up turning into mode of ignorance because you don't know when to stop, or whatever the case may be. So they all kind of float together, but the ultimate goal is to try to rise above these three modes of material nature to establish ourselves on a higher platform. uh Going back to a Stoic, Marcus Aurelius said the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And that's really true. I've actually I can share with you all, if you want to deep dive. There's a fantastic, and God, I think it's from like the 50s or the 20s. His name's Earl Nightingale, and he had a thing called The Strangest Secret, and it was like a radio broadcast. And I actually randomly watched it. Like I've got the book, the transcript of it, but I also have watched it so many times. It's just fantastic thing to listen to. Now it's kind of dated because, like I said, it's from like the 50s or something, but maybe even later. But um, he's got a really cool voice because it's really deep and it sounds really awesome. But he talks about what is the secret. And course, the secret, of course, is trying to define what success is, and ultimately he comes to the conclusion that basically exactly what Marcus Aurelius is saying is like we become what we think about, what we immerse our minds in. And Krishna would agree partially with that stuff, but he would add that true peace comes through connecting with your spiritual nature and becoming one with that. Because self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him, with the divine. So it's yeah, it's pretty neat. I like this section. Like I said, we're going to start getting deeper into more deeper topics and so forth. But just to recap, there's 5 big themes that were throughout this that we could touch on just to talk about. So, of course, just to recap, one was knowing the soul is eternal. It should change how we act. So, if you know you're eternal and you know this is just my little meat suit body that I'm just wearing around and I'm actually a soul, that should change how you perceive yourself in the world around you. 2, of course, dharma is not always comfortable because, like I said, firefighters got to go in to the burning building. Sometimes we have to make tough choices. Sometimes dharma isn't always comfortable. 3, purpose matters more than comfort. Of course, that is knowing your reason behind something rather than like, I'm just going to stay on the couch. Like, I personally did not have any intention of doing a Gita class, but here we are. So I'm out of my comfort zone, and I'm glad that you all are here. But, that definitely wasn't my initial intent, but out of the comfort
I
zone.
think it was in Autobiography of a Yogi where um it said that the fastest way to like transcend the material versus the like the spiritual,
Mhm.
like what you were talking about, um not having like the material spiritualism, but the actual is
Yeah. Like a deeper
to
connection. Yeah.
share this, yeah, to teach these topics. So
Well, it
good on you
definitely
for
forces me to dive in and read.
right, right. But good on you for like taking like the initiative to do this. I would never do it.
Also got a
So
ton of books this past weekend that I'm like super excited about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so you're like that's like that I think it was in the Autobiography of a Yogi is
Yeah.
where
Yeah. Look at that
um
one.
it was. Ooh,
Yeah. That's an old one.
when I was gonna say when was that written? Like
Oh gosh, it's
1970s,
probably from like
60s?
literally all the books
Uh,
that I got were from like the 50s. Look at this.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
heck yeah. Next time you're here, you need to go through the bookshelf that I have. Amanda gave me, well, Amanda didn't get, well, on Amanda's deathbed, she told Michael to give me all of her yoga books.
Oh,
So
sweet.
I got her whole
Well,
library. Yeah. And there's
not sweet that she
books.
passed, but sweet that you got the book.
No, but I mean, yeah, sweet that I got all of her books. So there's
Yeah.
books on there from like the 60s and the 50s and the like, like the
Yeah.
classic
That's awesome.
modern, I guess I would say. It's the modern yoga age,
Yeah.
like when people first started using yoga
Yeah.
mats, but
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
where
the
some
class.
of these are from.
Yeah. I'd like to borrow that red one sometime. The
Yeah.
yoga
Well,
one.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
want to read it.
ironically enough, I found this at a bookstore in Lexington, Black Swan. All they have is old used
Yeah.
books.
This is what I'm reading right
Oh,
now.
nice. Yeah, that's
And I
cool.
think it's like 1965 is when
Yeah.
it was written.
Oh,
1973.
we got this one too. Outlines of a Philosophy of Religion. Yeah.
Ooh, that looks good.
Based on psychology and history. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, spirituality. Number 4 was spirituality is more than ritual. So that's one thing that we, kind of talked about, of course, is that it's not just going through the actions, and that honestly, that's one of the things that I had a really hard time with when I started on this path was, and I've talked about it, it's like, am I doing this right? Like, oh my God, what if I piss off Krishna? Or, what if you know what I mean? Because I came from the hellfire and brimstone, so it was like, but to know that, like, oh my God, it's literally eternal love. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. Like, that's,
He's going
that's
to
the way
sit
it is.
on the battlefield with you and
Yeah.
talk you through this. Like
Keep sitting
he
there.
didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't say to Arjuna, like, screw you, dude. You can't figure this out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm pissed. Like, you're
Yeah.
doing exactly opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He didn't do that. He
Yeah.
sat on, literally is on
Yeah.
the battlefield,
Yeah.
talking him through it and being like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's your decision and I'm not going to tell you, but this is wise.
Yeah.
He's not going to abandon you. He didn't
Yeah.
abandon Arjuna.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what like number five was that I had was Krishna wants transformation, not transaction. So he's not doing it because he's, all right, if you do this for me, maybe I'll give you some wealth, or something, it's not like that. So I got two discussion questions here for us. Let's see what you all think. So why do you think people pursue spirituality?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can we answer it instead of why other people pursue spirituality? Can we reflect on ourselves and say why we
Yeah,
pursue
absolutely. Yeah.
spirituality?
That'd be
I
even
don't
better
really
to
want to.
personalize it.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the heads of other people because I think that we're just would be guessing. Who knows why
Yeah,
anyone else does it?
absolutely.
I know that I started pursuing spirituality because I knew that there was something bigger than myself.
Hmm.
Um, and when I started to explore that there was something bigger than myself, um, the tower moments of my life started happening. But with every bad thing that happened, better things. And it's like all of these teachings that, we're going through right now and just like in yoga in general, um, have made my life bearable.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can I go deeper? Like, how can I? It's never going to make sense. The decisions that I make, like personally, business wise, it's never going to make sense to anybody outside of myself.
Yeah.
And I think there was definitely a time in my life when that mattered. Now I'm in this time in my life where I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like my decisions and the reason why I do things, it doesn't, like, business wise, personal wise, whatever it is. The only person that it's going to affect is me and the divine. And so it gives me that connection to something higher than myself, out of the materialistic realm. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense to you. This isn't how you live your life. But guess what? It's not your life. It's not your purpose. It's not your soul.
Yeah.
So I think I started that. Plus, I don't want to come back and relearn these lessons.
Yeah.
I want to learn them once and be done.
Yeah.
I want to come back in the next life as somebody else's spirit guide.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to come back to this realm. I want to like try and
No.
get all the work. Yeah, try and get on the work down. So like after
Yeah.
I die, like whoever's left, whether it's my students or my friends, like they're sitting there and they're like, "What would Teresa do?
Yeah.
What would she do here?" Like, or like how I call in Amanda and be like, I'm calling you in and I need help with this situation or this conversation or,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, a lot of people around me, Darcy can definitely attest to it, that like I literally speak things into existence and it just shows up. And I'm like, how the hell is this
That
happening?
is true.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. I mean, I just like say it out loud, or I'll call in my spirit guides. I'm just asking my spirit guides for help, and the situation just unfolds and takes care of itself. And I think it's coming up like the yogasta, like the establishing yourself in the present moment and then
Mhm.
performing action. And most of the time, all I have to do is establish myself in the present moment and ask my higher self to take care of it. And whatever the problem is, gets taken care of. And then I'm just this mere mortal sitting back, like, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
I'm glad it did. But like, how
But
can I
yeah.
keep diving, learning about this stuff and being able to use it to
Well, and I
realize? So
think,
for me, it's pure curiosity
yeah. Well, and I think for
and
me,
testing it.
it was, I was raised like, I mean, I literally went to church like when I was like a baby, so like
Yeah,
being brought
me too.
up in a Pentecostal environment, so we were the holy rollers, we're dancing, we're speaking in tongues and everything. So I was just like around all that stuff. And, when you're raised in it, and even when like I had a lot of doubts when I was in high school, but I was like, I don't know. I mean, like it seems like legit. And then, just once I got into actually when I started to go through troubles in my second marriage, like I just really was hitting like a bottom because then I thought, is it me? Because this is like number two. Like, is it me? Am I the
Right.
piece of crap? Like, what is going on here, And so which was awesome because it forced me to self-reflect, and it forced me to look within and be like, all right, what do you have in here that needs worked on, And I mean, I ordered the sample platter of spirituality. I like tried everything, I was like, "Mm, not bad. Let me try this one, like
Right,
it's like,
right.
yeah,
And then once you find something that works, it's like, oh shit, this is working. I'm going
yeah,
down this rabbit. I'm
yeah.
staying with this teacher for a while or for
Yeah.
whatever.
But ultimately I think that's one thing that drew me to Sanatana Dharma and this bhakti path is that they teach that all of these paths can lead to the divine. So it
Right.
in the that was difficult for me because I had such a disdain for Christianity because of how I was brought up. And, I just wanted to be like, and especially in this current climate, of like Christian nationalism, like it just makes me just like grit my teeth. But then it's like, why are you still upset? Like, release it, man. Like, like
Right,
those,
right. You
those,
can't live their purpose for them.
yeah.
I'm the
And
same way. Like,
I guarantee it's impacting me more than it's impacting them. You know what I mean? So it's like
right,
I
right.
can't.
It's like you're drinking the poison, you're trying to poison them by drinking your own poison.
Yeah.
It's like I can't
So
stop you from doing it. But
that's kind of why
yeah,
I started diving into spirituality, though, was just like as I started to reflect and look into myself, it's like what connects with me, what pushes me more towards the finish line of like if there even is a finish line. Because every time I get a new book and I read something, I'm like, what the heck? Like it's like I learned something new and like the perspective just continues to evolve and grow. And so I don't think there's ever a finish line to your spiritual life. I think it's just continual growth and learning,
for
and
multiple lifetime.
yeah, because to that point, since we're a soul, the whole point is connecting back to the divine and remembering that connection that was there. But
Right.
anyone
And
else
just
want
like
to
you
touch?
said, connecting to the divine, you're really just connecting back to your own heart and your own soul because that's the eternal part of it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
a anyone else on that? Or I got another question. All right. So the other one I got for you, and we kind of touched on this too, is what does success look like from a spiritual perspective? Hmm.
I'll
Do,
I
let you
mean,
know
that's a
after.
head
do, do,
scratcher,
do, do, do.
Say, I'll let you know after I'm dead.
right? Like, I mean, hmm, that's a valid question. What
Yeah.
is success? Purpose, meaning, perhaps? I don't know.
Being able
Hmm.
to live every day with trust that all is well and everything's going to work out for my highest good. Doesn't matter what I'm doing down here. The
Hmm.
script is already laid out, like there's something bigger than ourselves that is really
I'm gonna try. I'm
carving
looking.
the
I'm not
path.
trying to be rude. I'm trying to find this quote because we were literally just talking about this. So that Earl Nightingale one that I was referring to, the greatest secret. One of the quotes that he talks about in that radio broadcast is, he talks about how what he originally starts talking about is how, people at a certain age they think they're going to be successful when they get out of high school or college, but only one person is like a millionaire, like in a group of 100, five don't have any debt and everybody else is still scraping by. And it's like,
Mm.
what happened? They all went out with the intention of being successful. But what he did was in the thing, he kind of flips the script and he said, well, you have to define what success is. And his quote is, success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal.
Oh, I love
And
that one.
yeah. And the point of that, the way that I take it is that if I set out to be like, I want to gain more spiritual knowledge on this topic, and, kind of you're speaking it into existence type things, like if I put my mind to that and I want to focus and absorb those things into my mind, then I've achieved my goal and I would consider myself successful because so I don't think there's a definitive answer. It's what I'm getting based on
I'm sitting here.
each person's individual.
I'm
um,
impressed.
dive
Maybe
into
people do.
books or, thought
Many people do
processes.
want to connect with us.
Well, I
No.
was just gonna say, get wet out of the bag if you want it. I wasn't gonna like
Darcy's.
deliberately
think
pass it
Darcy's
off to
talking
people.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I think it just kind of depends on you know, what you're setting out to do. I think that ties back into the self-reflection, right? Like what do I want to achieve? What is my goal? Is it to get more knowledge, And yeah, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, I could read more books on this topic, whatever the knowledge may be that you want to achieve. Do I want to, you know, I don't know, feel more connection with the divine? Well, how do you do that? I don't know. There's chanting, there's, multiple there's Maha Mantra, there's other mantras you can do, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. It's almost but you have to figure out what you want to achieve and that's how you would define your success, but just I thought that was a good question because it kind of gets you, the whole purpose of it is you start thinking, yeah, what is that? Like, hmm, how can I be successful? Like, because it's definitely a good one to end with, because you can ponder on it for a while.
Right.
But
Right.
so
That is a good one.
so just a closing thought before we wrap up because it's 8 o'clock. So chapter 2 began by teaching us that, of course, we are not the body. And this section asks, of course, the next logical question. If that's true, how do we live? How should we live? And that, of course, is something definitely that we can absorb this next and reflect on within, and kind of focus on. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all joining. Y'all are awesome. I love the conversations. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Always give me something to think
Yeah. And thanks for
I'm
joining.
glad you shared this, Sheree. So this was super fun. When's the next one?
So we do every other Monday. So
Perfect.
yeah. So I
which means
can
we'll go through the Bhagavad-Gita by 2027.
But see, that's the balance. We either do like read a whole chapter and then try to like cram it, but when we do little sections like this, it's like you can really dive in and deep
Love
dive.
it.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I did it in yoga teacher training and we went through it and I honestly, I didn't process any of it. And like just this conversation today and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, that's what that means.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm digging it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Because and like Teresa said, the best way is to just dive into it. So that's one thing that's helped me. So I appreciate y'all for that because then it's like, oh my God, I gotta make sure I got stuff ready, and like got my mind right, burn some incense real quick.
Yes. I do
That's
that
what I
before
do.
every one of my yoga classes.
Just gonna say the same thing. That's what I do right before every time I teach a yoga class. Burn some incense. They all of us don't. Darcy, don't tell anyone this. Everyone thinks it's for them. It's not. It's for me.
Yeah.
Gets me in my own right mind, in my own head, and gets me calm. And then I'm like, okay, I can actually take these people on a roller coaster ride of their own mind, body, breath, spirit, and maybe they'll find that one sense
I'll
of
try to
peace.
pick up the
I
ones I
think
dropped.
that's the success. I think that that's the success is when you find that moment of peace where all is well. And that's your spiritual success, at least for me. Aaron just had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't speaking up, so I feel like I always eat up all the time at the end.
No, please. That's why we do this.
I talk
Because
too much.
me, ask anything and then, I won't make it up. If I don't know, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was curious about 34 and 35, and I didn't read the subtext here, and I'm gathering kind of the bigger part of the story, and I think I understand the direction it's going, but it almost seems to point, 34 is setting up the reason of the importance into 35, and 35 is, the great generals who highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus will only consider you insignificant. It almost seems to point that he's saying, like, the value of others, like you've built up an image of something, and to abandon that now is going to make you look bad. But that almost seems like a silly thing to call out.
Well,
Like we shouldn't care about that at all, or am I misunderstanding that?
so because I think you're thinking of it more in like modern terms.
I
So that's
suppose.
probably like, because if you told me, like, if me and you are at the mall and I'm like, go into that store, they're gonna think like they're gonna think that you're a wimp if you don't want to run into Victoria's Secrets. What are you, wimpy? Like it's just like it's one of those things where if like you're just reading it and it's like it does on the outskirts does seem kind of like it's just material wise or like by the looks or the perception. But what Krishna is trying to say here is that, of course, essentially, even what he's trying to say is even if you decide you don't want to follow your dharma, say, hey, you get the choice, man. If you don't want to follow your dharma, guess what? It still is not going to be good. Like, you think you're gonna, maybe if I leave, I'll stop this war and stuff. No, man, the war is still going to go on. These people, guess what? They're going to be talking so much crap about you because, you're a warrior. You're supposed to have all this honor and you have all this respect. But that's why he says dishonor is worse than death because you're just going to be thrown to the side. And he's saying there's the great generals he's even talking about that have highly esteemed his name. Some of those, like we talked in chapter one, are on the other side of the battlefield that are literally telling him, those are the people that taught him how to be an archer. Those are the people that were his gurus that brought him up through the military. And basically is saying that if you left out of fear, they're still going to consider you insignificant. So it's not a win-win situation, you know? This is literally what has to happen. And you can't, even if you got out of it, it's still not going to be. He's trying to convince him that if you think you can escape this choice, it's still no good. But yeah, he's just trying to convince him and let him know that, it's better to die in battle as a warrior. So, yeah, pretty neat. Any other
Good
questions?
stuff. Mhm. Good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you do, feel free to message me or whatever. Um, yeah. Darcy, you're always welcome to join.
Thank
Darcy,
you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Your
Yes, you'll
book
see
will
me
be on your
tomorrow.
map.
Yes.
So sweet. Well,
And
I hope
Aaron,
you.
wherever you went, I hope you have a good week.
Yeah, he had to. So normally works during this time, and he
Yeah,
answers calls. Like I think he's like a support tech. So
right.
sometimes he has to like answer the call, so to speak. So
Yeah, right. He's performing his dharma.
yeah, yeah. See, he didn't choose to ignore the call.
Right, right. Even though he wanted to.
Oh, he wanted to. Yeah, I could see it in his eye. Hey, good job following your
Ye-
dharma,
Yeah,
answering your
you
call.
answered the call.
And I'm sorry. I work with a guy who passes his work on to me, so
Oh,
I keep getting all his calls. But
It's
apologies.
amazing. We
there
must
you go.
work at the same company.
Right? I think we all go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
My
every
bad.
company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did
It
you
even
catch what
happens
I?
when you're self-employed.
Yeah, did you catch what I was saying, Aaron?
Right up till I had to cut off the screen. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean
No,
to do
you're
that.
good. So I'll just recap just in case, because I don't remember where you hopped off.
Okay. My bad.
But essentially, like I was saying, on the exterior, on the surface level, it does look like it's, very kind of just looking at like how people perceive him and stuff. But that's, again, he's a warrior, right? His whole reason for being there is he's been trained. He's the best archer that's out there. And when he's talking about people speak your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death, that's all because Krishna is trying to tell him through these texts here that even if you stay seated and you want to escape the battlefield, just say, screw this, I'm out. Because I think even in chapter one, he talks about, I'd rather just run to the forest, and be gone, you
Yeah.
know. And what he's saying is like, even if you're doing that stuff, guess what? It's still not a win because these people are still going to be talking crap about you. The generals that highly esteem you, that are literally on the other side. Remember, one of them is the guy that taught him how to be the archer. Duryodhana, I believe was his name, was his guru for archery and for weapons. He's on the other side. He's like, all these guys are basically going, you will literally be dead because no one will have respect for you. No one will be around you. No one will want anything to do with you because you didn't follow your dharma.
Mm.
And so essentially you either follow your dharma or your life's over either way, is basically what he's saying. So in a
Okay.
nutshell. So, it's
So here's
not
a
about
question.
what's that?
So here's a question. How
Yeah.
do you know what your dharma is?
Ooh, welcome to
Oh,
Life 101, huh?
yeah.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Bhagavad-Gita As It
Yeah.
Is.
Yeah. So that's the age-old question, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
I mean that's one of the reasons why I started getting into spirituality because what is my purpose? Why am I here? Like
Who
why,
am I?
Hmm.
Who
yeah,
am
who am
I?
I?
Who
Yeah,
am
what am I supposed
I?
to do?
Yeah.
The age-old
But I think
question.
it's one of those things where the way that I kind of perceive it is it's almost like putting a puzzle together, to where it's like if I try to force this piece in, it may look like it's going to fit, but if it doesn't fit, then you're going to know that I probably need to
Mhm.
move on from this. This is not my dharma.
And if
I
you
But
like
think
that.
about it in the way of like emotions, your dharma, if you're living your dharma, you're moving through life emotionally. That quote that you just that the Marcus Aurelius quote,
yeah,
the quality of your thoughts is going to be different if you're living your dharma. And I
yeah,
think you don't know, nobody's going to come down and be like, hey, good job, you're living your dharma.
you're doing it.
But
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
right. But when you wake up in the morning and you dread the next 8 to 10 hours of your day, you're
yeah,
not living your dharma.
yeah,
And when you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, like I'm ready. I'm ready to go kick ass. I'm ready to go do, whatever I'm doing. And I think really for dharma, it's gonna not just, I mean, realistically for us, it's really where do we spend our most time?
yeah.
Well, earning an income, right? So
Mhm.
But I think
do you
it also ties back into in order to find that, that's where the self-reflection comes in
right,
again, because
right.
it's so
Am I enjoying
important.
what I'm doing?
I mean, it's so important too. It's just like when you have the check engine light come on your car, it's like something's not right here. All right, so I need to get
Mhm.
this fixed. I need to do something about this.
But
That's a
having the
really good
strength,
analogy.
right? But having the strength and the courage to drive your car into the shop and say
Yeah,
something's wrong and I need to fix it. And I think where people just like from my opinion, out the outsider of other people, which I'm trying to really not do, but because I'm really trying to just focus on myself and
yeah,
be like, you know what, everybody else around me, like I can't even show up and teach my yoga class. That's part of my dharma. And like this is what I do, and let's move this energy. But I really think it's going to be the quality of your thoughts.
hmm
If you're waking up and you're going, to produce income or to live life or to do something, and the thoughts in your mind are not positive thoughts that are helping you move through and transition through a quality life, you're not living your dharma.
yeah,
And until you do it, until you have to be willing and have the courage to change
yeah,
and to say, "Ooh, this feels good." David G always says, "If you want to live your dharma, figure out how to make money doing what makes you happy."
yeah,
Period. And you may have to take some shitty side jobs, but don't spend the majority of your life
yeah.
earning an income, but battling your mind because you hate what you're doing.
Well, and I
And
think,
if you're not,
I talk a lot about because that's what helped me is like self-reflection. But I think to your point, it's honest self-reflection, because
right,
you can look within and be like, yeah, I probably need to work on that. Maybe I don't. Well, whatever, man. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. But if it's like,
right.
yeah, if you're
But
like,
then your
okay,
mental health takes a whole, like
yeah,
takes a, your once the quality of your thoughts are not quality, you're not living your dharma. We're not put on,
Yeah.
we weren't put on this earth to be in emotional turmoil because of trying to, produce.
So there's your non-answer, Darcy. There you go.
Yeah. Good luck, Darcy.
Unfortunately, that's pretty much where I've been for a little bit, where it's like, I just don't know. And I love that I don't know. And I love that I have multitude of ways to find out what my meaning and my purpose is. But damn it, would be nice if I could just get a handbook.
But see, that's the thing though, is nobody can tell you. You're gonna have to figure it out.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
It's like,
it'd be a hell of a lot easier.
Get on your map for you and do the work. You got to do it yourself, and that's the pitch of all of
it. Yep.
Dharma's like IKEA furniture, It's like, how the hell do I put this together?
Right. And why do I have 14 screws left over? Getting this together.
I'm putting that as my quote of the day. Dharma is like IKEA furniture.
Perfect. Yeah.
Dharma is like IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
It really is.
I love it. Super random, Jeremiah, but apparently my husband has a shirt from a band you're in.
Oh, really? Which band?
Yeah. What band? Small Steps.
Oh, yeah. That's the band I play in. Yeah. That's cool.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came out here to grab his scissors and he's like, wait, that guy looks familiar.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you for the support.
I have another random thing to say. My phone rang today and it just said incoming call. Usually it says spam call, so I don't answer it because it's all spam. It was an 859 number, but it said Richmond, Kentucky. So I thought it was like a customer or client or somebody, calling into the store because it's my cell phone too. And I answered the phone and it was a freaking call center. The girl that was calling me, guess what her name was?
What was it?
Krishna.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, damn, Krishna's calling me from a call center and I can't even cuss this lady. And I was like, respectfully, Krishna, I appreciate this call, but I am not interested in what you're selling. And she hung up on me, and I was standing there like, Krishna just literally, I was so kind to Krishna. Krishna literally hung up the phone on me.
That's so awesome. That's funny.
It was really funny when she was like, good morning, ma'am. This is Krishna. And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really
well, cool. If anybody has any other questions, you can feel free to ask, or you can send them to me, whatever you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to answer Darcy's question, isn't answering your two questions kind of on that path, right? Your first question was, why do people get into spirituality? Your second question was, what was your second question?
What do you define success in spirituality?
That. So
or what does it look like? Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Teresa's answer. You can't answer anyone else's path or why they chose to do spirituality. You can only answer your own. But your second question, if you're pursuing spirituality at all, isn't that enough? And then the pursuit of spirituality, isn't that dharma or finding?
And that's kind of why I was sharing the Nightingale quote. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. Because if, to your point, if that's what if you were seeking out, then heck, you're successful on this path. You're doing good. So I think that's the key. That's the key. Is there's no end game. There's no finish line, so you're successful.
If you're doing it right, you bring it into the next lifetime with you and you get to keep
chugga.
I think the success is that you die and then you karmically come back without as many lessons. Less. I mean, I think you have to be reincarnated like 1,000 times to level up.
Yeah. And the feeling is very much like a video game.
Yeah.
Right.
Power up.
Yeah. So I guess whichever one of us is the first one to die needs to send a message from beyond.
Guys,
for the record, I'm super into talking to the dead, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you all so much for joining. It's been good conversation. I really appreciate you all so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we will see you all not next Monday, but 2 Mondays from now. So
we'll be in the middle of June. Oh my God. This year's almost halfway over. The heck.
Yeah, pretty wild. So
well, I will see everyone later. Thanks, y'all.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Jeremiah.
Bye.
Bye, Aaron.
See-
Thank you.
Yep.
See you guys.